We are here at the green room for world famous Earl's Hideaway. I got Rockin Jake here. Jake, thanks for taking the time to interview with us.
My pleasure.
Jake, how long you been a professional musician?
I would say 35 years.
35 years, okay.
1980.
1980, yeah. 30.
I mean, you know, that was starting off with like a local band.
Local band, okay. When you start making money?
That was my first money making.
There you go. In all your years of touring, what's your favorite venue to play in and why?
A lot of them don't exist anymore. There was a place in Fort Wayne, Indiana called the Hot Spot. I came up in the 70s seeing blues bands, and there was funky joints back in the 70s. Now there's not so many of the old style funky joints that are owned by club owners who love the blues and love music, you know what I mean? So, but that being said, places that are still open, the Green Parrot down in Key West, Funky Biscuit in Boca Raton, Tipitina's in New Orleans. Man, there's a lot of places I love. Slippery Noodle in Indianapolis, Torch Club in Sacramento, great club. And I hate to leave anybody out because there's so many great clubs and so many great club owners, but that's what happens after a few beers.
I hear you. Earl's is one of the favorite of most of the people.
Earl's, how can I not say Earl's? I love it here, man. It's like playing at a festival, but it's a club gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The audience is like a festival audience. It's really exciting, and we're having a great time tonight.
It is a great place to play, and we love coming here because so many different artists come in, and we get to meet them and find out a little bit more about them. In your 35 years, have you toured with other bands?
Well, I started out actually on the. Well, I started out with my own band when I was living in New England back in the 80s. We were playing just New England states, and then I got the call. We were actually did a double bill with Maria Moldauer once, and she ended up calling me 6 months later. This was about 88, 89, and asked me if she couldn't afford to bring her band out to New England, the East Coast, to do a tour out here. She asked me if I would like to back her up with my band, and I jumped at the chance. I was a huge fan, and I'd never really been on the road to any extent at that time. So I was on the, and then I moved to New Orleans about 6 months later after we did the tour, and she hired me to play with her. And then a couple years later, I ended up being her tour manager and playing about half of the shows with her. So I toured with Maria probably about 2 or 3 years. And for a very short period of time, I was actually the first tour manager for G-Love and Special Sauce, which is, this was back in '94 when they were just getting started. And so I would play with G-Love every night on the tour, but I was the tour manager. But as far as being on the road with other bands, it's pretty much mostly been my band. I did a tour with T.J. Wheeler and his band where we backed up Mighty Sam McLean and Katie Webster for a couple of weeks. This was back in the 80s, I think it was. But for the most part, it's been my band on the road.
Excellent. Living or dead, if you could jam with one person, who would it be?
Wow, hey, you're killing me with the questions. Well, my favorite harmonica player is Big Walter Horton and Paul Butterfield. I would love to just be honest with you. I don't know about jamming with them. I don't know why I would even take the stage with them, but I would love to hang with those guys, you know, and just talk with them. But gosh, that's an amazing question. I played with a lot, like Brian Stoltz is one of my favorite guitar players in the world, and he happened to live 20 minutes from me in Slidell, Louisiana when I lived in New Orleans, so he played on 2 of my records. John Groh, a great piano player out of New Orleans, I've got a lot of chance to play with him. These guys are wonderful to work with. I've been able to jam with J.J. Graham Mofro and G-Love and Galactic, and that's been a pleasure. So that's the best I can answer that question.
Okay. And they get harder.
Sorry? They get harder, wow.
Your entire music collection gets wiped out.
Which I almost did in Hurricane Katrina, but I was able to save most of it. But anyway.
If it all got wiped out, what CD would you replace first?
Well, probably my first, and it's not a CD, it's an LP actually. My first and most influential and most important and most loving LP that I have is Jimmy Rogers' Chicago Bound.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's got Little Walter and Big Walter on it, and but I've got, you know, so many other great records. And I actually did lose my iTunes. I had about 3,000 songs on iTunes. And I hit a button one day and boom, the whole thing was gone. Fortunately, I had a friend who was able to save it for me, so I was able to save all that great music. But that's another great question. But I'd probably go right to that. That's probably about my number one record.
Jimmie Rodgers album.
Jimmie Rodgers, Chicago Bound.
There you go. Singer shows up at your door, and he says, Jake, I'm going to sing one song just for you. Who is the singer, and what is the song?
Man, you're killing me. That's such an awesome question. You would have to either be Otis Redding or James Brown, you know, or Sam Cooke. Change is going to come. Otis, anything. You can sing the songbook, the telephone book, and I'll be happy, you know. And same thing with James Brown, one of those guys.
There you go. Young artist is thinking about making a career of music, and he's playing the harp. And he says, Jake, what advice do you have for me?
Go to vocational school. Learn a trade. No. Yeah, it's. I think it's a lot tougher now, even from when I was starting in the late '90s, to break your band, you know, and to go on the road. But you have to be dedicated. I mean, it's either you're in or you're out, and it's like you have to know what you want. I mean, if you want this, you'll make it happen. But if you have a fallback, you say, oh, if I don't make this, then I can always be a dentist. Then you're not going to go through necessarily the hard times that it's going to take to get where you want to go or do what you want to do. So I would just say, be sure you want to do this as a musician and stick with it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really difficult. You're going to question yourself a million times if you're doing the right thing. But if you love it and you're talented and you keep at it, and here's another thing is be friendly with everyone you know. I mean, everyone you meet, and don't cop an attitude with anybody. You know, I mean, like the song says, the people you meet on your way up, same people you're going to meet on your way down. So just be have a great, you know, keep your ego in check and be grateful for every day that you can play your music live. You know?
That's some good advice. Last question, and the hardest one. Hardest question. You've been interviewed a lot over your 35 years. What question would you like to answer that nobody ever asked you?
I'm going to take a nap right now. Wow, what question would I like to ask myself that's never been asked? Yeah, I think you're stumping me. Can you pause it for a second?
Nope, it's live.
Nice. Watch me sweat, people.
Everybody pauses on this one.
Watch me sweat.
What would you like to tell people about yourself that nobody ever asked you?
Well, it's just kind of simple why I do it, and it may sound a little corny, especially to professional musicians who've been out there for a long time, but I do it because I really love to make people happy. And really, my job, the way I see it, is to take people from their normal life, because they're paying to see me, and they're paying maybe to get taken someplace. That's my job, is to take them somewhere else where they forget about life for a little while, you know, and maybe instill a little something in where they can feel happy and good about themselves, and they can maybe pass it along to someone else in a very small way, bring a little bit more love in the world. I know it sounds a little corny, but honestly,
that's actually a great answer. And the question would be, why do you do this? And that's actually what quite a few artists come up with.
It's certainly not to make money.
No, it's not.
You know, I mean,
if you want to make money in the music industry, you're about 40 years too late.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can. There are ways of doing it, and I have made money. It's just a roller coaster, you know?
Yeah.
So it just, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and sometimes you make a lot of money, and then sometimes you don't. And
sometimes you put gas in the car.
Right. I mean, you just have to weather all the ups and downs. Like I said, if you really want to do it, you've got to want it really bad, because there's going to be the ups and downs, and you can't bail when you're down, because you're going to come back up again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us. We're enjoying your show.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to shoot a video of a couple songs, and we'll tie it in with the interview and get you some good exposure.
Just edit the bad stuff out. That's all I know.
There you go. Well, thank you again, Jake.
Thank you.
So slick, honey, do every trick now. You say you want it, baby, you want it right now. I can't believe it, no, I can't conceive it. So come on, baby, please believe it and give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Now you've been bugging me. about to get funky, but I'm clean. Do you know that what I mean? Yes, I'm funky, but I'm clean. You know that what I mean? Well, I bought me a brand new 5-0 scribbler. I don't know where they're going to. I'm cheap, man. You know to buy me a Cadillac, but I'll take them all to the counter. That's a fact. 'Cause I'm funky, I'm clean. You know what I mean? 'Cause I'm funky, funky, but I'm clean. Yeah, what I mean. Down before the bar. Everybody's afraid of me, I really think they are. All the fine looking chili cool smell